Right, short and sweet, writing performance outcomes objectives. This is where we focus on the actual competency or application of learning in a real world context. In other words, direct performance. Typically that will involve the application of knowledge thinking, but possibly effective components. We are focusing on the integrated whole performance. And it's often argued that this is a much more authentic way of developing student learning and assessing that learning in real-world application terms. Now, performance objectives could focus on the actual procedure or process itself, or the product from the performance, or combinations of both. Now, let's explore that a little bit. When we talk about procedural outcomes, this is where there is a performance but not an actual product. So if we talk about assessing somebody speaking or singing, there isn't a product unless we record it. Essentially, it's a process. And what we might want to focus on is key aspects of that procedure. So in writing objectives in this area, it's important to analyse the performance carefully to identify those essential elements, operations, steps that define, underpin the performance. And these then become the specific learning outcomes under the general learning outcome or objective, which is performance. Here's an example. So we're interested in students using laboratory equipment properly, and there's a procedure and a process to this. The key things are: selects appropriate equipment for the experiment, assembles equipment correctly, manipulates, measures accurately, whatever they're doing in the experiment, and uses materials without wastage, completes it within time limits, cleans up, etc. What we can see here that these are the key aspects of the procedure or process. So the basic idea is, if we can measure these and the student is doing these, we can make an inference and say the student seems to be able to use laboratory equipment properly. Let's move on. Okay, now what about for product outcomes? Well, in a sense, this is perhaps easier in some senses because we've got an actual product. So if we asking students to write a report, we've got something very tangible. And again, it's analysing those characteristics that are key to the performance, which is assessed by the product. So, in writing these objectives, again, identify the essential characteristics of the product that define its quality. So if we say our report's of good quality, what are these specific characteristics? And these become, again, the specific learning outcomes stated as criteria for a satisfactory product. So again, here's an example here. Write a report, and if we analyse what is a good report, that it boils down to some very specific aspects. That conventions are systematically employed, content, clear structure, presentation, methodology is appropriate, viable, and there is good illustration in terms of diagrams, charts, tables, etc., as appropriate to what is being presented in the report, that the recommendations are feasible, it's based on the data shown, and we'll have aspects to do with effective language and grammar and punctuation. So I hope that gives you a pretty good overview of how to write objectives in this particular way.